This is a leopard, Panthera pardus. This is a leopard ambushing an impala from a tree, an absolutely jaw-dropping feat of athleticism that seems to defy the very laws of physics. This is a drop bear, Thylactus plummetus, an Australian relative of the koala that purportedly launches itself from the trees onto foreign tourists below. And this is Scottish reporter Debbie Edward gearing up to handle a drop bear that had just fled its forest home, forced out by raging bushfires on Kangaroo Island, South Australia. More on Debbie's tragic story later. This is a marsupial lion, Thylacleo carnifex, a lioness-sized extinct superpredator with arguably the most powerful jaws of any mammalian carnivore ever. Many believe that it too was a tree-dwelling hypercarnivore that habitually dropped onto its unsuspecting prey from the branches above. But did it really? Did Australia's first Indigenous peoples live in fear of aerial attack from 100 kilograms or more of pure pouched fury? I get asked this question a lot, and I've just come across some research that I think quite definitively answers it. So, if you want to find out the answer to these questions and what happened to Debbie Edward, keep watching. I'm Professor Steve Wroe. I'm a real paleontologist, and you're watching Real Paleontology. And today, we're talking drop bears. I'll start off with a bit of backstory on the drop bear that attacks overseas visitors to our island continent. Now, if you go to the Australian Museum website, you can find this page, which presents you with the description, range, habitat, and scientific name of the drop bear, along with other vital information. According to the Australian Museum, the drop bear is, and I quote, around the size of a leopard or very large dog, with coarse orange fur with some darker mottled patterning. It hunts by ambushing ground-dwelling animals from above, waiting up to as much as 4 hours to make a surprise kill. Once the prey is within view, the drop bear will drop as much as 8 meters to pounce on top of the unsuspecting victim. The initial impact often stuns the prey, allowing it to be bitten on the neck and quickly subdued. Now, back to Debbie Edward, the unfortunate Scottish reporter. I'm just going to play a couple of short clips from this, and if you're a bit squeamish, don't worry, I've edited the gory bits out.
How are you feeling?
Well, at the moment, okay, because there's nothing near me, but it is a bit like a Batman suit. So I'm a bit worried about why I need this level of protection. Okay. Okay. Fine.
So, drop bears are a close cousin of the koala, but they're actually really vicious. So it's sort of like a dingo and a normal domestic dog. They're bigger, they've got longer claws. So the third most common injury that we see in tourists in Australia is actually from drop bear attack. Really coarse.
Okay.
Keep your hands down nice and low.
Okay.
Alright, just gonna flat hand.
Okay.
Oh, he's fucking yours now.
Okay.
Yeah, just
Okay.
no fast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice and steady with the bear.
They normally go
Keep
for the
him
eyes.
calm.
Yep.
Everybody
Like you
looks
say,
very,
you're a
very
good
worried
little-
about this. I'm trying not to be worried because I'm being told that he can sense if I'm worried.
Yeah.
We've been told that this is quite a dangerous bear that's been known to attack people. It's called a drop bear because they drop out of the tree to attack people. Just been handed it. Had to put on all of this protection gear because of what it might do to me. I'm not quite sure what it's doing right now.
Shit.
Oh, it's looking at what? Okay.
No,
right.
I thought he was going to get you.
Right.
I
really want to take it off
I-10
me.
insurance might not
Right,
cover this.
if
Do you want to
they
take it off?
say shit, I'm really not. Okay.
I'm going to get the darker. Just don't move. Don't move.
No, okay.
Notice I have an extra thumb
Okay,
on each hand
okay.
compared to the koala.
No, take it off. Take it off.
Please,
Take
please
it off.
take it off me.
Go on.
Yep.
Okay,
It's all right. It's all right.
okay.
Good boy. Good boy. All right. Good work, Sam. Thanks, mate. That was great.
There we go.
You're kidding me! You're kidding me!
You look great.
No, I think
That cracks me up every time, and I've got to hand it to her. Debbie was clearly terrified, but she was a great sport. So, it turns out that the drop bear is an Australian urban myth. I wonder if any of you fell for it. Let me know in the comments section. However, the proposition that Australia's extinct marsupial lion was a predator that habitually ambushed its prey from above is certainly a more credible one. And like I said, I'm often asked about this. Now, from the get-go, I must admit that I've always been a skeptic of this argument, but a scientist should always keep an open mind. So when I came across this pretty recent 2021 paper, a biomechanical model to assess the injury risk of leopards hunting by free-falling from trees by Blanco and Lozado Vera here, I was intrigued. It certainly appeared to be relevant to debate over the alleged drop bear hunting strategy for the marsupial lion. And we'll go over this paper in a minute, but first a very brief introduction to our marsupial predator. I will keep it brief because I've already done an entire episode on the marsupial lion, and if you want a more comprehensive overview, you can check it out. Okay, the marsupial lion, Thylacoleo, was an Ice Age beast that roamed widely across Australia from around 2 million to around 40,000 years ago. It grew to weights exceeding 130 kilograms, that's nearly 300 pounds or more, although there was a lot of size variation across this range, and specimens from Western Australia and Tasmania were considerably smaller. Historically, there's been much debate over its place in Australia's Ice Age ecology, but now pretty much everyone agrees that it was a bona fide super predator that typically targeted animals approaching or exceeding its own body mass. According to me and some of my colleagues in these papers, pound for pound, it had the most powerful bite of any mammalian predator ever, and it was very heavily built, more bear-like than cat-like, with massive muscles attached to an extremely robust skeleton. Other standout features include retractable claws and a relatively large claw on its semi-opposable thumbs. Right, those are the basics. The marsupial lion was a formidable predator, but was it a predator that attacked from the trees? Well, I reckon that Blanco and Lozado Vera have the answer. These authors used physics to assess the risk of injury faced by a leopard free falling onto unsuspecting prey below. But it's worth noting up front their initial observation, i.e., that this is a very uncommon attack mode, only rarely documented for leopards, and rarer still, if ever, for other large cats. What did they find? Well, just quickly, before I answer this, can I ask that you please like and subscribe if you're finding this content interesting? It'd be much appreciated. Anyway, assuming that the leopard was around 36 kilograms or 88 pounds in weight, and that it was falling from an average height of around 2.7 meters, the short answer is that the risk of serious injury was up to 3.5%. In their view, this was much too high to be a viable attack mode for regular use. And they highlighted other results that are very relevant with respect to the marsupial lion. Firstly, they point out that their calculations demonstrated a sharply increasing likelihood of injury with increasing size of the predator and its prey. 36 kilograms, of course, would be a midget Thylacoleo, which was, on average, around twice the size of a leopard. Clearly, this further raises the risk factor for the big marsupial. They further conclude that agility and the ability to change body orientation during freefall can significantly increase the chances of success and reduce the likelihood of injury. Now, I'm not aware of any studies that have attempted to specifically quantify agility in Thylacoleo, but I don't think anyone would argue that the marsupial lion could have approached the incredible agility of the leopard. As you can see from these skeletons, Thylacoleo is far more massive than the leopard, and in terms of overall proportions, much more like a bear than a cat. And this is borne out by a comparative study I did back in 2008. Thylacoleo was an animal built for strength, not acrobatics, a power lifter, not a gymnast. In short, I strongly suggest that the marsupial lion rarely, if ever, deployed a free-falling drop bear-like attack on its prey. Now, this isn't to say that it was incapable of climbing trees. Given its strength, retractable claws, and semi-opposable thumb, I don't doubt that it could. And further, indirect evidence for its climbing ability was presented by Aman and Prideaux here in 2016, based on scratch marks attributed to Thylacolea found in a West Australian cave. I also think that Thylacolea would have been quite capable of hauling large carcasses into the trees to avoid big scavengers like the giant monitor lizard, Megalania. All right then, folks, there you have it. That's my take on the great drop dare debate. You can let me know what you reckon in the comments section below. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day or night, and I'll be back next week with another episode.